From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 26.
It's time to join the millions of people using Zoom video conferencing. Turn any size conference room, huddle room, or executive office into a Zoom room with flawless HD video, crystal clear audio, and instant wireless sharing. It'll even work with your existing hardware. Start your meetings with a single touch or use Zoom's new voice command feature. Hey Zoom, start meeting. Huddle happy. Visit zoom.us to set up your free Zoom room trial today. That's zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
Party with a Purpose, Saturday, March 2nd during the 22nd Annual Sweetheart Gala. Imagine a world without heart disease or stroke. That's the driving mission of the American Heart Association. I'm Abigail Johnson, inviting you to join us at the Best Western Starlight Village. Social hour begins at 6. There'll be a silent and live auction, a DJ, and delicious dessert buffet and meal. Tickets are just $50 each. Come dance the night away at the 22nd Annual Sweetheart Gala, Saturday night, March 2nd at the Best Western Starlight Village in Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
Sylvester, can you hear me? There's a whole fortune in cash, and you can get it before anybody gets it. But you got to hurry. Do you hear?
Hey, what's the matter, Mama? Now, what's going on there? Are you all right?
Of course I'm all right. Sylvester!
Hey, Russell Emmeline with you?
Sylvester, forget about Russell. Will you just shut up?
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, Michael Devine. Yes, we're going to tell the truth, make it matter, and we're never going to be boring. I'm really into Space Cowboy by Steve Miller lately. Here's just a little bit of it.
I told you about living in the U.S. of A. Don't you know that I'm a gangster of love? Let me tell you, people, that I found a new way, and I'm tired of all this talk about love.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. Our guest, Pastor Austin Hill of the First Presbyterian Church and a gangster of love in his own right. How are you, Pastor?
I'm doing great. How about you?
So the big question is, will weather permit Bible at breakfast?
That
tomorrow
is the big question. And if past precedent indicates what will happen, then this storm won't be anything at all.
Well, you know, I know you're a California kid at heart. And we have had a lot of false alarms lately.
Yeah.
We really have. But sometimes the weather reports are accurate.
Newsflash right there. You heard it first right here.
Sometimes the National Weather Service is right on the nose. As a matter of fact, a lot of times they get it wrong the other way. They underestimate how nasty a storm's going to get.
Yeah.
So right now it's in God's hands.
Yep.
I don't know. You don't know. The National Weather Service doesn't know exactly. But I was wondering there for a while if we're going to get winter, and the answer is an unequivocal yes.
We can't escape it.
No, we had brutal cold, and now we've been getting some snow. And okay, winter. There we go. Pastor Hill and I talk about being Christians and members of the Christian faith, and trying to live in a world that is decidedly, increasingly non-Christian. As a matter of fact, hostile to Christianity. The very idea of Christianity drives some people crazy. Certainly, the Knights of Columbus have been taking a beating from such people as Senator Dianne Feinstein for being opposed unequivocally to abortion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that is a spiritual discussion,
mm-hmm.
and I think women have every right to say that that they deserve the final decision. That the final decision is theirs. But let's not just leave it there. There's other discussions to be had, and to just end the discussion by saying you're in the Knights of the Columbus. What is that?
Yeah. Well, and we're seeing that more and more these days, where people are being written off whole scale depending upon what group they are a part of. You're a part of this group? Well, then I don't need to hear your opinion.
That's well, you're a Christian minister, so I don't need to hear anything you need to have to say there, Pastor Hill.
Or you're white, I won't listen to you. You're a Democrat, I won't listen to you. I mean, there's just this increasing kind of tribalism.
Well, there was I had Stuart Taylor here some time ago, who was an author, and I can't remember the name. Anyway, he was on a panel regarding rape in colleges.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the young women came out of the audience and pointed to him and said, "What is this cisgendered male doing on this panel?" And he told me that, and I went, "What is that?"
Yeah.
I didn't know at the time. This has been a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
You know? I now know cisgender is apparently someone who identifies as a man and a heterosexual man at that. What a fiend.
Yeah.
What an absolute fiend. But,
what right does he have to state his opinion?
Yeah, there you go, especially on a subject that affects way more women than men. Can we all be on the record can we all be opposed to rape, for God's sake? Can we all be horrified at the very idea of rape, period? Can we all?
That's the hope, right?
Yeah. God, I would hate to think that there's somebody out there who's, or some group that's pro-rape.
Mm-hmm.
What a horrible group of people that would be. And certainly actual rapists should be locked up for life after execution. So I think we're okay there. I was struggling with how to talk with you about this as we discussed before we went on the air, Pastor Hill. But the disturbing trend that I have seen, and I'll use a little bit of Virginia as a background, is here we have a governor of Virginia who is who comes from an affluent family. He has a very privileged background. And he is a physician and a governor of Virginia. And he saw nothing wrong with infanticide, really. And he really, as his reasons, he said that he wanted to keep the government and politicians out of the decision. And, the irony there is, of course, is he's a politician.
Talking about it.
Yeah, talking about keeping himself out of the debate. Actually, he's going to make the rules because he's a politician. Then he wants to sit back and say, we don't need the politicians in this. The governor needs his head examined, obviously. And just on a lesser point, I've been to a few weddings in the last 5 years. And I don't believe any of them were in a Christian church.
Yeah.
I knew the parents. That's how I was invited in the first place. And all of them were raised in a Christian church, Methodist, you name it. But the young people were not married in a Christian church, and they were not married by a Christian minister of any kind. Certain other people besides ministers can perform the marriage ceremony here in the state of Iowa. Really, in all states that can happen. I was just struck that these young people seem to be making an intentional choice to stiff arm the Christian faith. We are not going to get married and acknowledge God's presence, or that this is, as Catholics say, a sacrament or anything special. What is marriage seen as in the Presbyterian denomination?
Well, it's we would call it more of a covenant than a sacrament, but it's still making this promise before one another, before God and before witnesses, that we are making this vow to one another that we will be together for better or for worse, richer or for poor, in sickness and in health. I mean, that standard language there. And what we believe is that the picture of a husband and wife in committed marriage to one another, they are an example of the faithful, committed love that God has for humanity, for us, especially in the church. And so God is faithful to us, even if we mess up or make mistakes ourselves. Now, when you make the marriage vow, it's not, I will be faithful to you so long as it's convenient, or I will be faithful to you so long as I feel like it. Or it's not even really saying, I will be faithful to you as long as you uphold your end of the bargain. Instead, it's saying, I will be faithful to you no matter what. And so as you say that, I will be faithful to you no matter what, that is this tremendous picture of God's faithful love to us. It recognizes that even when we mess up, God is committed to us. So that's one of the things that makes marriage so special, is that we get to be a living, breathing example of that commitment that God has to his people.
Back in the 1980s, I saw a television interview with Sylvester Stallone. And Sylvester was divorcing his first wife then, and the mother of his children, for Brigitte Nielsen. And let's just say that Sylvester got what he deserved there. But anyway, he was talking about the reasons for his divorce. And he said the passion had gone out of his marriage. And rather than continue in a brother and sister type thing, it's better to move on so we can see passion again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Brigitte thing was about 2 years, and I think there was some passion there. I think there was a couple of physical assaults involved. I don't know.
Sounds like a lot of passion.
Oh, there was quite a bit, because Brigitte turned out to be kind of a handful. Very strikingly beautiful woman, but man, wow. So as I was listening to him talk, and I thought, here is a famous actor, very wealthy man, very talented man. As a matter of fact, I was watching it with a group of people, and some of the women who were my age at the time were losing it over Sylvester. Oh God, he's so good looking. Apparently, you're not seeing me in the room. Anyway, I was thinking, how shallow are you, Sylvester Stallone?
Well, Well, without picking on him too much, because I think he's an example of many. Yeah. I think that his comments there are symptomatic of our culture in general. And when you talk about what it means to live out our faith in a culture that's less and less Christian, I think some of these cultural forces, they might not be that explicit, or they might not even be as like over the top as you might think. And what I mean by that is I think some of the most anti-Christian aspects of our culture are just consumerism, and that life is all about me and my own personal fulfillment. And as long as my needs are being met, then everything is okay. But if you're not meeting my needs, then I don't need you anymore. Whether that's the product that you're purchasing, whether that's the people in your life, in your family, whether that's the social circle you're a part of, whether that's your connection to a church or any sort of volunteer organization, any of that. If you're not meeting my needs, if you are not kind of taking me to that next level of personal fulfillment, then I don't need you in my life.
So I kind of know what some of the more conservative Christian churches think. You're a pastor of a church that is recognized as a church that emphasizes love and forgiveness. What is the Presbyterian outlook on these sorts of things?
Well, I think we still recognize that marriage is God's ideal. And on top of that marriage requires sacrifice. It requires
it does.
A change of life. And one of the biggest things that I do in my premarital counseling is I tell couples, blatantly, you will disappoint each other.
Oh, absolutely.
And and you start with that. And, couples come to me most of the time when they're engaged, thinking that there's nothing that will ever make me question my love for my partner. And I just tell them that's not true. There will be times where you will wake up and say, what on earth did I do when I said I do?
About a year from today, you'll be going, who is this? And why am I in the same room with him?
Yeah, exactly. And so I will happily sound like the jerk in the room to make people more aware of that marriage, more than anything, is not designed to make you happy. It's not designed to make you feel good, but it will be challenging and it will be sanctifying. It will make you holy in the end. If you live it out, it will make you more like Christ. And what I mean by that is that
this is not a persuasive argument.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Well, and I think that's why more and more people just don't want to get married, because it's like, well, why would I tie myself down? Why would I say some kind of commitment that I'm going to be with you for richer or for poorer, in better and in worse, in sickness and in health, et cetera, et cetera? That sounds like a terrible idea. And there are times when it really does feel like a terrible idea. My wife, Sarah, can tell you that she has those experiences with me, more often than I would like to admit. And I think we all can name those experiences.
Certainly.
So now I think what's hard is that our culture tells us more and more, well, then just move on. If the romance is gone, if the passion is gone, then it must be the person you're with. It must be that marriage that's wrong.
That's right. And let's be honest. What we're talking about, what Sylvester Stallone was talking about, was sexual electricity. The sex wasn't as exciting as it once was. He was not as sexually attracted to his first wife as he was to this new hot girl from Sweden or wherever Brigitte Nielsen was from.
Well, and the fact is, as a man, I continue to get older, but there will always be young, attractive women. No matter how old I get, there will still always be young, attractive women.
That's right.
And
they'll look at you as an old guy.
Exactly. and that's a part of marriage, is figuring that out. And, there will be a time that no matter how attracted you are to your spouse, there will be a time when they are no longer the most attractive person in the world to you.
Oh, God, no. Oh, God, no. But the definition of love, which a lot of young people confuse with just sexual attraction, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, she's a great girlfriend. Maybe we even live together. Nothing will change if we get married. Go ahead, hang a wife on some young girl's, around some girl's neck. See if she changes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then when you put kids in there, and
do that.
Every stage of life and marriage, you're continually relearning what it means to be committed to each other. And what I've found is that kids, they take any marriage and they test it, no matter how good the kid is, even just with things as simple as your assumptions about how to raise your children. What kind of food should they eat? How much time should they spend in front of a TV? What kind of clothes should they wear? Should they be secondhand clothes? Every one of those decisions brings out those assumptions, and you as an individual that you just assume, well, of course the world is this way, until you find out that this person you're living with and you're stuck with doesn't agree. And then you've got to figure that out. You got to work that out, and that doesn't always happen easily.
Well, the thing I've noticed about long-term marriages is that the definition of love changes.
Yeah.
There's a greater understanding between the two people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great appreciation. I have 3 guys I was in high school with have all been married over 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, their lives and married lives have gone through a number of different changes and struggles.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to report that for the most part, despite what they may say or the grumblings of their wives on occasion as to why did I ever get married, the truth be told, they wouldn't know what to do without each other.
Yeah.
They really wouldn't. Their lives have been so close. They have spent their lives so close together that they don't recognize their partners as separate from themselves.
And I think that's kind of this deeper message I want to emphasize, is that often it's those kinds of difficult, hard, less glamorous, less sexy parts of life that really give us that deeper sense of meaning. Whether that's raising children when they're throwing up or, changing their diapers at 2:00 in the morning, or when they're teenagers and don't listen to a word that you have to say, whether that's 40 years of marriage, whether that's being a member of a church and dealing with people who disagree with you, or serving on a committee where you sometimes think, are we doing anything productive with our time here, or whatever it might be. It's those kinds of moments that we feel like we don't have the time or the patience for in our society that's all about me and my needs. But it's those kinds of commitments that give us that truer, lasting sense of fulfillment and meaning in life. And yet we so often short circuit that because we want the quick fix now.
Yes, that's it. We want that. We want that attraction. We want that thrill. We want that feeling back, because that's why we got married.
Yeah.
And if that's why you got married, I think you're going to have a problem. I can say that. But if I think back long enough, that's probably what I did partially.
Well, and I'm sure none of us really has any clue what we're getting into when we say I do.
Absolutely not. Isn't that? I think that's a real truth, that we all think we know what marriage is, but we don't at all. We think we know what parenthood is, but man, do we not.
How crazy is it to think that I am willingly saying I will be with you, knowing full well that you will hurt me and you will break my heart, but I'm committing to be with you anyway. And how crazy even more is it that someone else is willing to say the same thing to me.
Yeah. Boy, if you can get that, man, you got it made. Anyway, Pastor Austin Hill's our guest.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
All right, 2:28. The news, weather, obituaries coming up. And we'll talk again with Pastor Austin Hill, the First Presbyterian Church. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Hey, man, broke down again? What is it this time?
Ugh. Looks like my sprayer pump is blown a seal. Got another ball valve leaking.
Why not look at Dultmeyer Sales?